Dreaming is the safest way to delve into the non-terminal domain. Dreaming is also the safest way to engage in psychedelic trips which are not parameterized by one physical body. Everything that we dream is basically non-terminal, with terminal instantiation only occurring when we wake up. When we wake up and we remember the dream, we are imbuing our own terminal understandings into the dream, which is necessary for us to integrate the dream at all. But there are two relatively disjoint operations that are happening. One is the non-terminal operation, which is the dream itself, dreaming, meaning non-terminal consciousness is primary, and remembering the dream, which oftentimes linearizes, localizes, and generally visualizes and focalizes the dream, which can quite severely distort the non-terminal dynamics and mechanics of the dream. This is something that we have to be very careful of. The more we write down our dreams in sequence, the more we miss the fact that a sequence is a non-terminal distribution with punctuations, and those punctuations are events and objects. The events and objects are sequenced in memory, in our linear memory, through this terminal operation known as remembering. But we have to undo or at least soften the linearization and localization of our remembering operation so that we can actually begin to inhabit dreams as they are occurring and not allow remembering to distort or denature the non-terminal dynamics and mechanics of the dreams. Why? Because this is an entire sector of our consciousness that is being siphoned off and siloed away from our terminal consciousness. Something that I found very bizarre when I was a child. When I was a child, and in fact, most of us, we have vivid dream lives when we're children, and we carry those dreams into our terminal awareness, which is actually not fully crystallized. Part of what we're doing when we're physically developing is crystallizing our terminal awareness or consciousness so that we can function in this terminal domain. But issue with that is that we crystallize the non-terminal dynamics and mechanics of our consciousness right out of that terminal development that we're engaging in. Our physical body grows and we can gain coordinative capacities, and we start to reason on linear time, and we start to reason in terms of fixed localities or relatively fixed localities, and we toss extended cognitive and perceptual operations into a subset of fictional or magical operations known as paranormal operations. And we confine our cognition to our perception, rather than recognizing that perception is a waking terminal sub-operation of cognition. And cognition permits multi-body entanglement, experiences of multiple bodies, substitutions among multiple bodies, and interpretations of those substitutions as communications. This is what dreaming provides. So, when I was young, I would recognize that sequences of dreams were, and with a lot of guidance, by the way, this wasn't something that I just came up with on my own, but mainly my grandfather. My family used to discuss dreams at the family table whenever we would have breakfast or dinner, or when we were in the car ride to school, etc. And so we would interrelate our dreams and discuss the contents, but also the mechanics and dynamics of dreams. And this was something that normalized this double life and made my sister and I realize that dreams are basically occurring in this alternate non-terminal domain, and our job is to not remember them without severely distorting them so that we can integrate them into the terminal domain in various ways, whether it's through positive emotions, whether it's through information that we need to be carrying, whether it's through warnings or explorations, etc. There are many applications. Now, what we can call interdimensional, dynamic dimensional, extraterrestrial entities of a higher order are perceptible and can be communicated with in dreams directly, which is something that most of us have discarded, unfortunately. Now, this goes both ways. It'd be positively oriented or negatively oriented. I can discuss many, many negative orientations of these entities. But one thing that will essentially prevent the perception and communication with these entities is lucid dreaming. Why? Because lucid dreaming is a terminal approximation or replication of our terminal consciousness. Lucid dreaming is a recreational function. You know, you can generate objects, you can fly, you can float, levitate, you can experience human consciousness in an animal body, but anything that does not approximate a human body and human consciousness cannot be experienced in a lucid dreaming state. And that's because the mechanics and dynamics of lucid dreaming approach those of our terminal mechanics and dynamics. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. We can have fun in lucid dreams and we can pre-simulate scenarios. Let's say you have an important interview coming up. You can, if you're sufficiently trained and disciplined, pre-simulate that interview to some extent while lucid in your dream, which can aid in preparation for that interview. It's just one example. So they're not just recreational, they can also be functional, but ultimately lucid dreaming does confine our dream mechanics and dynamics to terminal mechanics and dynamics.